Hey everyone, Christopher Paolini here with none other than Bryce, the head of Wraithmarked. Hey Bryce,
Hey, how's it going?
pretty good. I can't believe we're doing this again already.
A little bit sooner than expected, yeah.
So, for those who don't know, we're recording this video to talk about Wraithmark's upcoming Kickstarter, which goes live at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on July 1st. And that Kickstarter is, drumroll please, for the Book of Remembrance. So, Bryce, you want to give a little context for where the Book of Remembrance came from and what it's about, and then I'll give some juicy details.
Yeah, absolutely. So, keeping a very long story short, when we did the model for Saphira last year, we did not expect certain elements of, let's say, the political climate, especially in the US, to make some drastic changes, and that resulted in some complications, namely tariffs.
Hmm.
Um, very long story short, Wraithmarked at the time was looking at almost $400,000 of additional expenses on the Saphira model that we weren't expecting. And when we
Which,
told,
which is a lot.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
I mean, the Kickstarter was incredibly successful, but
Yeah.
that's, the profit margins aren't so large that you can really take a hit like that.
No, especially when we really did genuinely do our best to make sure that it was as affordable as possible. I know that $90 plus shipping is a lot more than some people have, which is totally fair, but we really, given what was put into that project, we did do our best. What was interesting though is that when we brought that particular issue to the audience, to the Saphira Kickstarter, we did not expect them to be like, how do we help you with this? How do we
Hmm.
help you cover this? And that was really surprising and really humbling. And so we sat on that idea for a little while, and then Christopher's team and the Wraithmark team came up with a really cool idea, which was to, yes, take you guys up on the offer to uh, help us cover the tariffs, but do it in a way that allowed us to give you guys something that you had never had before. And so we put our heads together and we came up with an idea that Christopher was kind enough to license to us, and allow Wraithmark to take on. And that was the Book
The
of
Book of
Remembrance.
Remembrance.
Yeah.
But as Bryce, as you just said, this is not how I would normally publish any sort of material. So this is something I'm licensing to Wraithmark. This is a light Wraithmarked project because of the circumstances we just discussed. What is the Book of Remembrance? Well, the Book of Remembrance is 7 battles from the history of Alagasia, the world of Aragon. It is a historical look at these 7 battles, and some of these are battles that have only been mentioned in passing in the Inheritance cycle. Some are some battles that have appeared in the Inheritance cycle, and I'll talk about which battles we're talking about. But it's a brief examination of each of those battles in world, and then this was the fun idea which Wraithmark came up with. People who back the project get to have their names listed as among the ranks of the fallen warriors from each of these battles. Unfortunately, we can't have the lore and the information on the battles is canon. The names can't be canon because the internet is the internet, and Bodie McBodie faced it was a thing for a while. So, alas, the names themselves aren't going to be canon, but it is a way for people to participate in the world of Aragon and actually have their name in a book from the world of Aragon.
Yeah, as an official part of a project within the world
Yeah.
of Aragon. Now, the content related to the battles is canon, and that's something we're really,
Right.
really excited about.
Well, and then let me list those battles really fast,
Yeah, absolutely.
so people know. So we have 7 battles because I like the number 7. Seven's a good number. The first one is called the Defeat at Amaranth and covers the final confrontation between Mad King Palancar and the elves, where the humans were defeated. Which this is the battle that led to humans being included in the pact between dragons and riders. Then we have the Siege of Kavoth, which is a dwarven siege, although there's a dragon rider involved with that. And there's a certain red-eyed rabbit in that battle as well. That was a fun one to sort of write about. Then the Sack of Rowengard, which covers some of the defeat and fall of the dragon riders. The Ambush at Stavarosk, which is all about how the Urgles wiped out about half of Galbatorix's army in the Mountains of the Spine. And then the Battle under Farthendur. I don't want to say too much about that one. The Slaughter at Gilead, which covers the capture of Gilead by the Elven forces during the Inheritance Cycle, which is also where, spoiler, Glader and Oramus were, Oramus was killed and Glader lost his body. And then finally the Fall of Urubane, which again we saw in the Inheritance Cycle, but this is from a point of view that has never been done before. So we have 4 battles that have never actually appeared before. They've been mentioned, but they haven't appeared. And then 3 battles that we've seen in the Inheritance Cycle, but we're seeing them in a very different way now.
And one of the things that we really want to be transparent about, Wraithmarked has no interest in gatekeeping any of the material that Christopher creates for the world. So this material is probably, it's not guaranteed, but it is very likely to be available at a later point in a more traditionally accessed aspect. So if for some reason you can't back this campaign or you don't want to, it will be accessible later. That is something we really want to be transparent about.
But without the names of the backers.
Yes. And without a lot of other stuff.
Let's talk about that. So what cool goodies are going to be packed into this book?
So aside from the usual Wraithmarked stuff, and so if you're new to Wraithmarked, we specialize in really pretty, really high quality books. All of our books are printed in the US and the UK. They are top quality, and our artists, our designers are absolutely fantastic. So the book is going to be bound in leatherette, in faux leather, and it's going to have triple color foil on the front spine and back. But the inside is where it gets really cool, because not only do we have custom end sheets, a custom signature page, and 7 illustrations, one from each of the battles. These are canon illustrations that are going to depict the battles themselves.
And I've also done 2 illustrations for the book already, and I may do more in the future if I get the chance.
Yeah, if you have the time. But I mean, we'll take anything. There will also be the opportunity to get your own face in this book. Those slots are limited. We don't typically love making limited slots, but because of the nature of this project, it really was something that made sense. There are going to be 14 slots that will allow people to get their portraits in world, still not canon, but designed and illustrated, customized to be in world as commanders of the armies of the battle. And then there are going to be 4 slots to be actual dragon riders, which will be not just a portrait, but a spread that shows you as the dragon rider as well as the dragon that you would be riding.
And of course, there's going to be illustrated end papers and we think, map and all this other cool stuff. And talk about the tiers for a second. So if you the lowest tier is going to be,
it's going to be $10. So that's an important one. So the book itself, if you want to get access to the book, it's going to be $50 plus shipping. Which we know that not everyone has $50 plus shipping laying around. So one of the things that we wanted to do is that for $10 with no shipping, you can get your name in this book. It won't come with a physical book, but you will still be able to get your name in the book. From there, it's the $50 tier, which will come with the physical book as well as your name in the lists of the dead somewhere in the battles. And then we go up from there, increasing in rank, increasing in rarity, until we hit the spellcaster slot, which there are only 70 slots for. Right. It comes with a leather-bound book, and you'll get to pick your race, which is something that we unfortunately couldn't set in stone for the other tiers, because that gets incredibly complicated. But the spellcasters will be allowed to pick the race of spellcaster that they want to be, and then from there you can become a commander of one of the armies, which is where you get the portrait, and then possibly even a dragon rider. So there's a lot of options, and there's a lot of advantages to the different tiers. So check it out and make sure you back at your comfort level and your interest level.
And of course, the book itself, with all the art and the design of the cover and the various elements, I think it's going to be physically is going to be a beautiful package and feel very much like it's in world. in a way that very few books ever do.
Yeah, that was something we spent a lot of time on, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm absolutely thrilled by this and incredibly excited to see how Wraithmark pulls all this together. I'm happy to have been able to contribute some and license all this to Wraithmark. And as Bryce said, this material will likely be published elsewhere in the future, so people do have access to it. But you will only be able to access the Book of Remembrance in this form through this Kickstarter with the art, with the names, and with this particular presentation. So I'm excited about this, and I'm very, very grateful that the fandom, the readership has been interested in this. I mean, I think hopefully it comes through in this conversation. Bryce and I felt very strongly that if Wraithmark was going to do this, people had to get a lot of value for their, hard-earned money. This is not. We didn't do the, Wraithmark didn't ask me casually about this, and I didn't say yes casually. And once we decided to move forward with this, we were all determined that we were going to do our very, very best to make sure this was a top-tier addition to the world of Aragon, and also just a cool artifact in general.
Yeah, and that's something I really want to hammer in is when we put out that we put out a poll to see, like, hey guys, how many of you guys would be okay with us running another Kickstarter? Because ordinarily, especially since Saphira was our first project in the world of Aragon, we would never have run another project until Saphira was fulfilled. We wanted people to really understand and have confidence in that. So we were really, really shocked when I think it was over 95% of individuals were like, yes, go ahead and do the campaign. So we are so grateful.
And just to be clear, for those who may not be tracking this stuff, how goes fulfillment of the Saphira statue in production? It's all on track at the moment?
It's on track at the moment, yeah. Especially with printing in China, things can always get complicated. Right now, we are on track. And I believe you just received like the first physical element of the product, which was the certificate of authenticity for some of them.
And they're absolutely gorgeous. I'll be signing those later today.
Yep.
And if the tariffs come down, or if this particular Kickstarter is more successful than anticipated, what's going to happen with all that extra money?
So that's a great question, Christopher.
Do I get to buy a Lamborghini, or
no? I get to buy a Lamborghini.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. No, that's a really fair question, because it was one of the first things we wanted to address. Was so at the start of this, tariffs I think were above 140%, which is what the calculation of the 400,000 additional in expenses was going to be. Now I believe it's such a fluid thing. It's part of the problem. I believe they're around 50%. They could be 200 by the time Saphira is fulfilled. They could also go away completely. And so in order to address that, and in order to make sure that we had a contingency in place, if Wraithmark profits in excess of whatever it is that we have to pay in tariffs, if it's $10 in tariffs or $1 million in tariffs, if we end up profiting in excess of that, that excess profit is already earmarked for another project that I really wish we could talk about, but unfortunately that one's a ways off. But it is
a World of Aragon project, to be specific.
For another World of Aragon project that I can't wait to get rolling on one way or the other.
Well, we have a lot of cool stuff in the works, and we're just tackling them one project at a time for the next 10 years or so.
I like how that sounds like a joke, but I think we're actually scheduled out for like 10 years.
It sounds about right. So, again, we are incredibly grateful for the support of the community. We're doing our best to do right by you. I have great faith in Wraithmarked. Everything I've seen with them, everything I've done with them so far has been absolutely fantastic. They are conscientious, hardworking people, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Book of Remembrance in your hands as soon as possible. So, our deepest thanks. I hope you enjoy reading the material I'm creating for this book. I'm having a blast writing it. So go forth, be awesome, and be sure to check out that Kickstarter.
July 1st, 9 a.m. EST. Thanks, everybody.